Hello and welcome to the Recon Cast, a weekly topic-based podcast show that is recorded in one go and split up into 3 topics and posted Tuesday through Thursday, with a compilation going up on the Friday, and will be featuring myself and one, if not both, of my sisters, Louise and Vanessa, and within which we are going to discuss all sorts of things from games, movies, TV, popular culture, to the sort of silly stuff you might talk about with your mates, like zombies or time travel and such shenanigans. So, if that sounds like your sort of thing, then sit back and enjoy. Topic 1. With further rumours around the PlayStation 4.5, codenamed Neo, it got me to thinking how all the buzz around rumours were pre-PS4 and Xbox One, discussing the future of the consoles in general, suggesting that this might be the last generation of hardware as we know it, as many thought in the 9th generation we are going to be streaming games from servers akin to PlayStation Now, so our consoles would be glorified stream boxes. First up, what are your thoughts on this, and what do you expect to see from a PS5 or Xbox 2/4, and what would you like to see from these future consoles? So, first of all, what do you think about, games being streamed akin to PlayStation Now, like not actually having all the hardware, it coming through the internet as a whole? What are your thoughts on this?
I mean, it makes sense. I guess, everyone's always trying to move forward and that kind of stuff. So yeah, it makes sense, and I can imagine it's gonna be massive cons and it's gonna be really beneficial. But I'd miss. I don't know. I'm kind of one of them weird nostalgic people that like having, all my games there and being able to visually see it, I guess.
Yeah, I suppose that's a physical media, digital media sort of conversation as well, as opposed to just that, because digital is going to be a thing. We can talk about part of what we expect to see from future consoles. I suppose that'll bleed into that. I should also say that Lou isn't here for this episode. She's ill, so she will hopefully be back for next episode. But yeah, my thoughts on it are that the internet infrastructure just isn't solid enough. You take PlayStation and Xbox Live, they go down all the time. If your games are 100% relied on this PlayStation Now-esque thing, I think Nvidia are doing something similar. But if your internet goes down, or or the network goes down, you're fucked. You can't play anything because it's just a stream box. So and you might have great internet where you are, but that if you're in the country, that just knocks that whole demographic out
it's going to cause lots of trouble. What gets me as well is Sony have been hacked before. There's been loads of stuff on there that it's already kind of forethought. Well,
it's not just them being hacked or them having these DDoS attacks. Their actual accounting, their billing stuff got hacked. Loads of billing information went through. So it wasn't just a little thing. It was something that could genuinely impact your bank account. So
exactly. So I wouldn't like it if we had any input. I'd probably say no, stick to hardware, unless they can. I know they're trying to make the consoles more advanced and trying to evolve it that way. But until they can also evolve their security, then I'm not interested.
That is another point, is that incremental upgrades would cease to be a thing if they streamed it, because as long as your box could still handle the stream of whatever was coming through, they could push through higher res graphics, and resolution would be a problem because that's going to take more bandwidth and maybe even frame rate to a degree. But the actual visuals themselves, they could turn all the resolutions, all the textures, all the textures up to max. All the effects, all the glow effects and stuff that you get on PC, they can just max them out. But and so you won't need to upgrade your thing as much. So it has some benefits, but I'm not sure if the benefits outweigh the cons. So
yeah, the other point of it as well is there's a lot of people that don't keep up to date. So for instance, I've got friends and people that I know that they're still kind of almost technology like like a technophobe. So
Yeah.
how, in that circumstance, are they going to be able to handle the like how it all works and stuff? That's
I
maybe
don't
not
think
one
it
of
would be. I don't think they'd make it too complex on their end. I think they'd probably keep it like relatively similar to a console. So I don't think it would be harder to do for the average consumer. But I mean, I'm almost certain that one day something like this will be the future. But I think people just think like it's deluded to think that the next generation of consoles, like a PS5 or Xbox, whatever they want to. It's hard to say
yeah.
Xbox 2 because it's technically the third Xbox already, so their numbers are all messed up. But I would see it being the future one day, but not for like 10, maybe 20 years, because the infrastructure of the internet has to be up to that level.
Exactly. It's a
So
massive leap, a massive, massive leap to go from where we are now and, to completely, like, wow, just getting rid of it.
to stream it would be a large amount of bandwidth through the
Yeah.
internet. Like maybe when this Google Fiber thing, hits and it's a big deal everywhere, and when all the infrastructure upgraded, maybe then it's not a problem because you can get fucking, I don't know, 100 billion gigabits a second or whatever the fuck they do,
Yeah.
But for now, I just don't see it as any way practical, and not just now. I think for 10, 15 years minimum. So
No, I totally agree. I think, well, if you think, how often does a new console come out? When did the PlayStation 3 come? That was about, like, what, 8 years ago, something?
the PlayStation 3 had a really long life cycle. I think that got like 9 years out of it.
It did, didn't it?
I think it came out in something weird like 2000.
I was like 16.
2006, I'm thinking, off the top of my head. Something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
And
Maybe
it
2005,
finished.
yeah.
It depends how you define finish, because I mean now it's like no one's really making games for it aside from like FIFA games and stuff.
Way.
But I suppose you could say it stopped getting supported maybe a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
So what would that be, like end of 2014 or something like that, start of 2015? So it got like 8 years minimum out of it. But I mean, like, not to beat a dead horse or anything, but the PlayStation 4 has been out 2.5 years, and this codename Neo thing is seeming like it's legit. It's gonna happen. It'll probably be out this October. So
Really?
yeah, probably. If the rumours are anything to go by, if not this October, early next year.
I think it's a very bold move, but I don't think it's.
I don't think it
Gonna
makes any
take off.
sense really
No.
for really anyone. Aside from people who've got, a fair bit of expenditure, a fair bit of capital to throw around. I don't see and they're hardcore PlayStation fans. I don't see that for anyone else it's really gonna work out. So.
No,
But
I'm not.
whatever. We'll see how it goes.
It might be awesome. It might be amazing, but
It might. You never know
I'm not
until
gonna hold my breath.
until it happens. Hindsight's 20/20. But as I can see now, it doesn't really make sense for the consumer. And it doesn't really make sense business wise because they're fucking killing it. Like they're on a similar level to where PS2 was on their projected sales. And I'm pretty sure PS2 is their best selling console ever. So it's like if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's like I think we're getting like it's a little off topic, but it's and I don't want to beat a dead horse, but it does get annoying. I'll probably talk about it in my news feature this week. When you're watching this, it'll probably be last week, but because we record at different times. But yeah. Anywho, what are your what do you expect to see from a PS5 or Xbox 2/4? I'll start.
Yeah.
It was a similar thing to what we were talking about a second ago. Is I expect there not to be an optical drive. I expect there'll be no place for discs. And the majority will be digital. It will pretty much all be digital, or maybe they'll do something where you can buy like USB sticks from GameStop or Game, as it's called in the UK, and just plug it in and then download it that way. But I don't see them putting an optical drive in because it's a lot of extra cost. And although, yeah, sure, you can play Blu-rays, Blu-rays seem to be fucking changing like even quicker than consoles, because now regular Blu-rays aren't good enough to do 4K, I don't think. And they've got these new Blu-rays that are like Ultra HD Blu-rays or something that can do it. But like, for example, the PlayStation we've got now can't handle them sorts of discs. So I don't know whether they should even try and bother to keep up with that technology. And it'll suddenly make the consoles a lot cheaper if they take the optical drive out. So
Yeah, I guess so. No, I don't know.
I mean, that's the problem, because
like,
then you're talking about the whole digital versus, physical
yeah.
game stuff.
Like I said, I'm nostalgic about that kind of set. I'm the same with books. I'm the same with games and stuff. It's kind of and DVDs and stuff and like Blu-rays, where it's nice to kind of.
Yeah, I'm kind of weird. I'm kind of weird on that one, because in everything else, I wish there was sort of physical media again, because it feels like you take something. I mean, to be fair, I've got loads more music than I ever would have if we were back in a physical thing. But it's like music's almost been cheapened in a weird sort of way. Like, I don't know, it doesn't feel the same. Like, you don't listen to an album back to back like you would. You just get like songs and things like that. I think something like Spotify is really cool, but like even DVDs, like you don't buy DVDs or Blu-rays really anymore, and you can't give them as a gift. Like music and movies can't really be gifts anymore, because it's like, well, you're giving something someone can just either use off a service or just steal off the internet, so it's like,
it's a good point. Yeah.
But
I always kind of feel like, when you give them like the cards and stuff, like you get like vouchers and stuff, I always feel a bit like, I don't know, like it's here's a piece of paper.
I mean, if they're old and they're not into technology, like you were saying, if they're a technophobe, then you can still give them CDs and shit, but it only really works if they're like old and shit. And then maybe me moaning about physical media is myself being an old git, but but for games, I quite like not having to. Maybe this is just how lazy I am. I quite like not having to switch out games and shit. I like how you can flick to it, because I'm used to it with Steam, because I've got no fucking games on my PC. It's all digital, so I'm super used to it with that respect. I like how you can do that, but with everything else, I kind of wish there was physical media. So I'm a bit funny with that. But.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get it. I mean, the practical side of it is like you haven't got like a massive bookshelf with all like, hard copies and stuff, have you?
Yeah, but I kind of like that as well, because it's like you feeding your weird little collector vibe. That's why amiibos are such a big deal, because people want to collect shit.
Yeah.
Like, people had DVD collections and CD collections back in the day,
Yeah. I'm not really sure what else I'd like to see out of it, to be honest. It'd be cool if they came up with something better than the what do they bring out with the PlayStation 3? What was it called? The Eye or something.
The Move.
Equally. Oh God, the Move. Yeah, it'd be cool if they came out with something like that. Yeah, or
I would expect greater integration with VR and probably AR going forwards. That's definitely going to be a thing.
Yeah.
So
it'd be cool to see a lot of that. But saying that though, it still took ages for like when they kind of went through like with Xbox and the Kinect and all that kind of stuff. It took ages to take off.
Yeah, well, they didn't really take off, did it? Even the Kinect just sort of died a death with the Xbox One, didn't it? So, but I think VR has a much better chance because it's less of a gimmick. And AR, personally, I'm way more excited for AR personally, but that also might be because of my slant of having motion sickness. But I kind of like the idea of things being in my world and like the Minority Report bullshit. I think they're going to have to figure out the interface, because your arms are going to get fucking tired waggling your arms about all day, or everybody's going to be walking around fucking jacks. Do you know what I mean? Like, but yeah, once they figure that shit out, like, I think that's going to be much more of an interesting prospect, because it would be able to do both, because I'm sure you'll be able to like click down a visor or something, boom, you're in VR, pop it back up and it's in AR mode. So
that'd be fantastic.
And it'd be kind of cool, like if you're playing a game and you've got your HUD on your AR mode, so it's like in your world, the HUD's in your world, and then you're just like watching it in the TV, and maybe it's got like background effects, like how those some of those TVs have got lights that flash in the background to add like an ambience with what's going on in the TV, something like that. So maybe you've got like stuff that you don't per se need to interact with in the game, but it's just happening around you and shit. So
Yeah, didn't they have that with the? I'm not sure if they actually followed through with it, with the Xbox One and the Kinect.
Mm.
How once you had it on and you were playing games and stuff, you'd have like the background like portrayed onto your like. Oh, they were going to bring something out, like where it was like portrayed onto your walls and stuff. So if it was snowing in the game, then it'd
Well,
be
like a
snowing in real
projector or
life, and
something.
yeah, sort of thing. And like it'd like all the snow would settle on your shelves and stuff, and it'd do that. I remember there like being a bit hype about
It
that
was
because obviously
probably a concept, but I don't think it ever came to
no,
fruition.
I
But
think it would have
I
been
think
awesome
it's
if it did.
definitely a possibility thing. I was watching this thing. I forget what it's called. It's like iMotion or iFinity. There's some tracking thing very similar to Microsoft's AR, the HoloLens. It's very similar to like
Yeah.
a competitor. It was on the trending YouTube feed the other day, and it was really cool. Like they had this like web page up, and they had like a HUD for all different things and graphics and bar charts for their other stuff, and then they'd look around, and then for like an entertainment-y sort of thing or like a screensaver, they've got like just jellyfish floating through the world and shit, and it looked really cool, like
That sounds amazing.
like next level good stuff. So
I'd love to. Yeah, I'd love to see something like that. So, I mean, I always pull my sofa up towards the TV as close as I can anyway to kind of get absorbed. But if they've got that kind of thing going around you as well, that'd just be fantastic. That'd be awesome.
yeah,
That'd be something that I'd want to buy.
yeah.
Definitely.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's got practical. It's like your phone. Your phone has practical applications as aside from used for communications or entertainment. And I think AR has a much more of a possibility to have practical applications, whereas VR has got much more possibility to have entertainment applications. I mean, they both have both, but so yeah. Another thing I think that they'll be pushing forward through that I think they'll try and do in the future is true 4K integration. And I don't mean like what they're trying to do now, which is like be able to upscale things, or so you can watch video 4K from, say, Netflix, for example, or via these special HD Blu-ray DVDs things I was talking about earlier. I mean, that's what they're going to try and probably do with this codename Neo PlayStation 4.5 malarkey. But I think they'll try and push forward. I think what we'd expect from a PlayStation 5 is, I mean, 4K might be a big ask, because even like having two high-end graphics cards now in PC can like only really handle 4K at high settings at maybe 30 frames per second or something. So it's probably too big an ask even for the next generation, if that next generation is going to be in, say, like 4 years or something, which it quite easily could be at the rate we're going. So I think that might be a big ask, but 2K I think is definitely going to be a thing, and if they can, they'll probably try and push for 4K. So that's something I expect to see. So
Yeah.
I mean, but 4K is just not really a big standard, I don't think, as much as people think it is. And some people might have 4K TVs in their living rooms and shit, but what media have you got to play on it? You're probably not playing any 4K media on it. Even movies that are in the cinemas are often only 2 or 2.5K resolution. So it's like, I think it's like bragging rights more than it is an actual thing at the moment. I mean, it will be.
Yeah.
Well, these things always move forward, but it's just, I don't see it's yet there yet. So.
No,
But,
no, I agree.
like something else is for the future that I would like to see, that I don't think is a thing per se, is like completely modular like consoles, because I don't want these weird half steps that we're getting all the time. So I would prefer something that is like upgradable, so and very simple. That's what I would hope to see from a PlayStation 4.5. If this is the precedent, this codename Neo 4.5 is successful, then that will set a precedent, and there'll be these skips like from now onwards. So what I would like to see instead is like a completely modular system that's incredibly easy to upgrade. Yeah, similar to how you can upgrade a hard drive now in your PlayStation. Just or even easier than that. I would like to see it where you could just maybe unscrew something, pull out a graphics card, push in a new graphics card. It clicks. You screw something back in, so it can't just be yanked out and fuck up your system.
Yeah.
I would like to see something like that going forward. So that needs a little innovation. But if this is the new precedent, this 4.5, then I think that it's a necessity to have, upgradable CPUs and upgradable GPUs, because like it just doesn't make sense financially. If this is the new thing, PCs now are cheaper. There's less and less reason to not game on PC, because consoles are less and less like consoles, And you could say, oh, that's the same for what you're saying with this, with being able to have an upgrade path. But if it's incredibly simple to do, and you're saving money, you're still trading the convenience, but then you have to be careful about how many graphics cards they put out and how many CPUs, because then it makes it harder for developers to develop all these different SKUs of hardware. So I would say just bring out 3 GPUs or whatever, or bring out GPUs incrementally, but only bring out, say, 3 within a console's lifetime before you switch to whatever the next gen is and whatever the next gen standard is. So let's say you've upgraded your graphics card and CPU, then that might still be the equivalent of whatever the new standard is, whatever the new base model standard is, where they put in their like economy card and their economy CPU, because tech's got cheaper by that point. So you might, if you've got the high-end console, you should still be able to play high-end for X amount of time, So
yeah, it
maybe
makes
that's
sense. I mean,
something that they should do.
I think that's probably quite a good idea, because all right, they're not bringing out a brand new console and stuff, but people are going to be so much more interested in buying that. In spending not as much as a new console just to update bits and bobs. Even
if they guarantee the standard base model for 5 years guaranteed, and then maybe you think, oh well, that's the case, but I'm at year 4. What if I upgrade my GPU and CPU for like a much cheaper price, because the other internals are, the motherboard's still a standard or whatever, but perhaps you make the motherboard a standard for like 10 years or something, whatever you can do without creating a bottleneck. And then so you don't have to go all the way to chuck out your old console. I mean, personally, I'd rather consoles stay consoles, because that's what PC's for. But if we're going to do this thing, I'd rather this be the compromise that we have going forward,
Yeah,
because I think I don't know about you, but I'd imagine if I said your console's obsolete, but you can plug in a fucking new graphics card for, I don't know, £150 or £200, and then suddenly it's as good as whatever the other whatever the standard is. I'm sure you'd be much more intrigued by that than thinking, oh shit, I've got to spend £400, $500, whatever the new price is when these systems come out,
Yeah, no, of course. Like, who wouldn't want to spend like 150 to 200 to, however much it's going to be, double that. I think it's a good idea, and it's even if people are like, maybe, unless it was like foolproof that you couldn't bust it, I would be personally, well, you know what I'm like with breaking things, but yeah.
I think as long as you're
like,
not
even
a fucking idiot, that's how simple it should be. It should be literally like you unscrew the thing, you pull out your old one. You press a button so it unclicks, and then you pull it out, and then you get your other one, you push it in, and then when it clicks, it's like locked in, like you get with like a bag or something, how they click it, and then you screw in something.
Even how they do it with like phones, when you put like your SIM card in and stuff. So there's literally just a little flap you have to pop out, because you ain't got to piss around screwing stuff. Oh yeah.
Well, I think you should have the screw just to make sure, like if you've got kids, one of them goes around the back, presses that button, just yanks out your graphics card. That could be a problem. So I think it'd be best to have a screw on there, personally, or something kiddie proof anyway.
Definitely, yeah, that's a.
Are you telling me that wouldn't happen at your house? That would happen.
Oh, good lord, please don't. So,
it's like, but graphics cards, like having built a PC, a graphics card isn't that complex to put in. The graphics card's like one of the easiest things to put in. Wiring it up is probably a little bit more difficult, so they'd have to figure out how to put the power all in this one connection somehow. That would be a bit more tricky, but the actual interface, so it can communicate with the motherboard, is literally you click it in, you just push it and it clicks in. The power's, like I said, a bit more of an issue, so they'd have to innovate on that, but the other bit's fucking easy.
But
and
they
then
could
you just
even
screw it in.
Start like a mandatory service for like game.
Well, yeah.
For instance, like
if
they'd be raking money in.
Well, if physical copies of games aren't going to be a thing, but you can still buy your hardware from them, it's not going to get rid of all the GameStops and game stores. Do you know what I mean? Because sure, they might have to, if physical copies aren't a thing, they might have to get rid of like, 60% of their stores. But if they can still sell hardware and they can upgrade that hardware for you, so you don't have to, worry about fucking it up yourself, or you get guaranteed warranties if you get like a qualified GameStop or game member to do it. So I think it's a good possible workaround for a situation that I'm personally not that stoked for at the moment. So
I'm not too stoked.
no, but we'll see how it all pans out.